See, that's the first time I seen him wear his shirt back.
Then you haven't been paying attention because he does that all the time. So since I've been here, he's done that. And frankly, I could give a shit. It really doesn't matter to me if it's on frontwards or backwards, as long as he shows up and he practices hard and he tries to get done what we need to get done. A non-issue.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, we'll go Mark Long, then Gary Schmitz.
I'm just curious, now that you've spent 5 months working alongside Urban Meyer, how has his approach been different from what you're used to in the NFL?
It's very different. I'm going to say this: it's different. His energy is different. His approach, in terms of big picture view, has some similarities to Eric Mangini in terms of how he wants to program the run. The biggest difference, I think, is it's players first mentality. He'll do whatever's necessary for the players, that they have the best in the building, that they're taking care of the best, right? And if we're going to require them to play at a high level, okay, us as an organization have to provide for them at a high level. That's the biggest thing that he brings to the table. He has energy and it's players first, and those guys understand that it's players first.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, we'll go Gary, then we'll go Jordan.
Hey, Coach. Walker Little, does he have a lot of rust to knock off from not having played a lot of football in the last couple of years, or did he come a little bit more polished in your estimation?
I can be completely honest with you, right? I've had multiple tackles drafted in the first or second round, and he came in as prepared or more prepared than any of those guys, right? In terms of movement skills, in terms of intellect, in terms of communication. We ask guys to do things differently than they do in college, so there's a learning curve there. But in terms of how he came in, the fact that he didn't play for 2 years, you really couldn't notice that.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go Jordan, and then we'll go John Shipley.
Hey, Coach. Was wondering what you saw from Jawan Taylor in 2020 and kind of what you're expecting from him moving into 2021, year 3.
My biggest issue with Jawan is just consistency in pass pro, right? In the run game, he's physical. Same with Cam. From a run standpoint, I really can't bitch about any of our guys and how we approach it, right? I'm of the belief, all right, there's very few teams, if we decide we want to hand the ball off, are going to stop us from running the ball. But where we struggled last year at times was in pass pro, right? And that's a technique issue and a consistency issue, all right? And that's been addressed. It'll continue to be addressed. Those guys know it. It's something that we're not shying away from, so it'll get better.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
John Shipley?
Hey, Coach, can you just talk a little bit about what you saw out of Walker, on the tape from Stanford that made you confident in his transition to the NFL?
Well, first of all, Walker, he's a really good athlete, right? And of all those guys out there, if you watch him play, he has unbelievable flexibility. He can really bend, right? And he's a smooth pass blocker, right? So when you watch his tape, even from his sophomore year, okay, and then going into his junior year before he got hurt, just his fluidity of movement, you knew he could come in and he was going to be an efficient pass blocker. What you didn't know is how physical he was going to be in the run game, right? Because you saw it when he was young, what they were doing at Stanford, but you missed his junior year, all right? And they played Northwestern, I believe, the only game he played that year, and he was pretty physical in that game. You just didn't know where that was when he came in. And then once we got him, the thing that's impressive is the dude's 325, right? At Stanford, I thought he was one of those 315 guys, 312 guys. He's 325. That's a big freaking man, right? And he can move and he can slide his feet. And as long as he continues to grow in pass pro and understand his angles and position, okay, if he develops, he could bring some competition, right? He could bring some competition to those guys. But you won't ever know that until we get to training camp. We put the pads on and we're hitting people. And is he going to be consistent day in and day out at a high level to really put pressure on the guys that we have?
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Anything else for Coach?
Really?
All right.
That's it? Time out. You guys brought me in here after practice. Okay, you want to talk to me. You asked me 6 questions. You're going to release me like that?
All right, we got a couple more here. We got a couple more hands right here, Coach. Mia?
I'm sorry, Coach. I'm out on a bike ride. I thought this call was at 11:45, but if you need me to ask the question, I certainly will.
Well, first of all, where you riding your bike? That's what I want to know. I love riding my bike as well.
So do I. So I'm just doing a quick little South Side Tinseltown ride right now. But probably my favorite routes, I really like doing up. Go off Heckscher up in Amelia Island. If you
Really?
get off after, Little Talbot Island, there's a park and ride, and then you ride right into Fernandina. Highly recommend that.
Really?
That's definitely That's
gonna
what I
check that
highly
out.
recommend this summer. Checking it out.
Okay.
It's all shaded too, so in the summer it works. I know Mark kind of asked the question already, but kind of to build upon it, you are in a very unique position in that you were in the building this time last year. You're in the building this time this year. How is the energy different, and how is just the general reaction of the players different to what you saw this time a year ago to this coaching staff?
Well, if you really want to get into it, right, in the depth of what's going on, okay, unlike in years past, Urban has all the power. He has all the control, right? So he can dictate everything from the top down, right? That's huge. That's huge in the building. That's huge with the players because they know now exactly who they got to please and who they got to answer to. Okay, so that's the first thing. So, and that's clear, and everybody understands that, right? And then he's very clear in what his expectations are, right? If you've been around the building, you've heard him talk about +2, 4 to 6, A to B. You've heard him talk about that, right? That's how we want to play, all right? That's our DNA. That's what we want to get done. That's number one, all right? So if I'm a player in this building, the first thing I better know and I better understand is, okay, anything I'm doing is in high energy and high effort, okay? That's non-negotiable. So as long as you understand what the expectations are, it's a little easier to get what you want. So that's the number one difference, okay? He sets the tone, okay? He controls what's going on here, okay? These players understand that, and they're going to bust their ass to please him.
Obviously, they kept the line intact from this time last year, the same starting five. How have you seen those five guys embrace that +2 mentality?
That's always been our mindset anyway. I mean, for me, okay, that's how we want to play, right? That's how I like to coach my guys. We want to be down the field finishing in pass pro. Okay, we want to be physical in the run game. We want to try to diminish the defense over time. Okay, so what Urban's talking about and his philosophy really goes hand in hand in how I believe you have to play in the line. All right, we don't want to be a soft group, right? When we go play a team, we want them concerned about having to deal with us from a physical standpoint. And that's his whole mantra.
All right. Thanks, Coach. You're all set.
All right, no problem, guys. Have a great day.
Hey, Coach, we're just going to jump right into questions.
Okay, great.
Jordan?
Hey, gotta ask, what are we seeing from Trevor so far?
He's learning, and he's learning quickly. He's a terrific student of the game. He loves the mental preparation. He's getting a feel for how we do things here. He's just a true pleasure to coach because he loves it. Like, he sits on every word and every phrase and every soundbite that you give him in meetings. And although he's played so much football, there's a lot of things that he continues to learn and be like, okay, that's a good way to say that. I like that. So you see growth from him every day. That's as a coach, you get excited about that because you see he's getting better. He's stacking good days on top of one another.
Great. And from a competitive spirit standpoint, is it evident there out on the practice field every day and in the meeting rooms?
Yeah, I mean, our guys are, number one, it's a great room. I mean, we've got 4 great guys. They all are hungry. They're all competitive. They push each other. But I also love how they share. They share information. They share knowledge. When they're not in there, you see them talking to each other about different things that they've seen. I couldn't be more excited about the room of guys we have. But they are competing at the highest level. And it's fun to watch, and they push each other. And that's not just in the competitive periods against the defense. That's throwing routes on air to the receivers, to the tight ends, individual drills that we do. There's a competitive spirit that we believe is going to make this quarterback room really one of the best in the NFL.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, we'll go D-Rock and then Gary.
How were Trevor's fundamentals when he came in? Was he as clean a guy as you've seen coming in the league for the first time?
Well, I think he's very clean for sure. There's a lot of things that they all need to work on. There's some different philosophical things that we do. Last year he was kind of a right foot back guy. We've moved him to more of a left foot stagger, things like that. But anytime you've played that much football, Mike, that he has, and be well coached from the time that he was in high school. I actually met him when I was at the University of Georgia, and his high school coach, Joey King, was a terrific coach, and then certainly going up through Clemson. So, yes, to say for young quarterbacks, his fundamentals are very strong foundation, but the things that we're having him try, he's picked up very quickly. So that's exciting as well.
That makes it easier for you, right? So you don't have to spend time cleaning up the basic stuff that you got to do, and you can be a little bit more advanced in the other stuff, right?
No doubt. What you love with a player is when you make a correction, whether it's a fundamental, a scheme, a read, whatever it is, and he's able to almost instantaneously turn it around and improve it. And you see that not just from Trevor, really from all the quarterbacks. But as a coach, that helps you say, okay, we can go from A to B pretty quick, and let's get down the road to our D's and E's and F's and all these things you're trying to get covered in a period of the offseason.
Now, he's the number 1 overall pick, so expectations on this kid are going to be immense. What have you seen in the time that you've been with him that has you convinced that it's not going to bother him at all, that he won't be impacted by those at all?
Well, I think when you learn his personality and you see him, they're just, he's used to being in the spotlight. He's used to being on a big stage. It didn't affect him in high school. It didn't affect him in college. It hasn't affected him here. He's just true to who he is and the type of person he is and the young man and the worker. He's just the type of guy that has a ton of self-confidence, belief in what we're doing. And it's just there's a calming influence when you're around a guy like that. And, again, been blessed to be around a number of great players. He reminds me a lot of Phillip Rivers. Phillip came into San Diego in the old days, and Phillip had kind of that same self-awareness, that same calm demeanor where he's like, look, I've played a lot of football. This is just a different level, but it's still X's and O's moving around.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
All right, we'll go Gary, and then we'll go John Reed.
Hey, Coach. Obviously, early after the season, the handwriting was on the wall that this team was going to take Trevor Lawrence. And then a month before the draft, they brought in C.J. Beathard. So in Gardner's case, he's kind of got competition now at both ends for the start job. And then when he's going to be relegated to the backup, now there's competition for the second string job. Gardner's response seems to have been to just go back to work and grind at it and try to prove himself even more. Has that been your assessment?
Well, again, I don't agree 100%. We certainly haven't named a starter, Gary. Our objective from day one was to build the best quarterback room that we could. We knew what we had in Gardner. CJ was a guy that we looked at on film, and we saw him make a lot of the plays and have some of the athleticism that we really, really like from our quarterbacks. Jake Luton was a guy that was highly sought of last year. I know we really liked him in Seattle when he came out. And then, of course, you get a chance to add a Trevor Lawrence to the mix. You're going to do that. But, we're not in a position where we're saying, hey, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're letting them all roll. Everybody's getting reps. We want this thing to be really competitive. Ultimately, when we name a starter, we'll name a starter, and Urban will do that when he's ready. But I've just enjoyed watching these guys compete. Like I said, from Gardner's standpoint, he's an alpha. He's got leadership ability. You love that. CJ's come in here. He's had to catch up, with some of the system stuff because some of the verbiage here stayed the same with Coach Warhop staying. And then, of course, Jake has just been a guy that, probably the least amount of reps, but every time he's been out there, he's moved the team and he's done things that we're like, wow, that's really great. So I'm thrilled with where we are right now as a quarterback room, and it's still too early to say, hey, how this thing's going to play out.
Okay. And Gardner had to learn, if you count spring practice he spent with Troy, he was in 4 college systems, and this is his 3rd system. Yesterday, Darryl was talking about how quickly Gardner picked up the system, and he was about a few weeks away from being a graduate assistant in Alabama before Mike Leach swooped in. So do you think Gardner's got a future in this league as a coach?
Well, it's funny you say that because actually we were talking yesterday during his exit meeting, and I was telling him that with his instincts and understanding of the game of football, the X's and O's, the schemes, he'd be a terrific coach. You guys know his personality. I think he was like, yeah, coach, that sounds good, maybe at the high school level. But he's got an uncanny ability and instinctive understanding of how the game should be played, and he makes plays out there every day that you're like, wow, how'd he see that? You know, there was a play a couple weeks ago in practice where the defense was disguised in a coverage, and he saw something that when I looked up, I didn't even see it. And so I don't know if he'll ever go into coaching, but if he does, he'd be a hell of a coach.
Thanks.
We'll go John Reed and Mark Long.
How you doing, Coach?
Good.
Back to Trevor Lawrence. Can you talk about just his ability to retain information, and how far along, you know, with the off-season program has he learned the offense, or how much have you installed of the offense?
I would say, John, that we're pretty much through 95% of the offense, the most part of it in. The good thing is, as we come back and we get started in training camp, we'll hit it again, you know. So what they learned in the first OTA, they'll learn in training camp 1. What we did in the second OTA, they'll learn in training camp 2. But his ability to come in and learn this system has been very impressive. It's been a lot of long hours. You know, he works his butt off when he leaves the building. He studies. He texts me all the time with questions, which I love. I mean, it'll be 9:45, 10 o'clock at night, and he'll be like, hey, Shotty, on the backside of this, are we alerting that, or how are we handling this in this protection look? So he loves the mental chess match of football. When you talk to him, he loves that part of it. And it's not just throwing the football, it's the protection, it's the run checks. Like he truly is a guy that's fun for him. So when you get a guy like that leaves the building and he's spending hours on his own as a coach, it gets you excited because you know you better be prepared for your next morning's meeting because he's going to be ready to go.
Yeah, just a quick follow-up. You know, with 4 quarterbacks that you have right now, was it difficult at all to try to get equal share of reps for those 4 guys? I mean, there were some open practices that we had where 1 quarterback wasn't in and looked like things was flowing with 3 quarterbacks with getting reps. So was there any difficulty?
I wouldn't say difficulty. I mean, it's not perfect. The numbers will never match up. We do our best. I would say, I mentioned this earlier, Jake probably has gotten the least amount of reps of anybody, but I know one thing, if you look at the film or the next time you're out there practicing, you'll see him standing right behind the quarterback getting a mental rep, and we believe that that's almost as important. It's not quite as good, but it's almost as important, and he has not missed one of those. So, again, 4 quarterbacks is a awesome luxury. We're thrilled to have 4 not only good players that we have, but great young men. The room is awesome, but I would say they're all pretty balanced. Each day's been a little bit different, and they're all maximizing their opportunities.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, we'll do Mark and then we'll do Mia.
Hey, Brian, I've got a few for you. I want to start with, you guys got a number of Seattle guys in the building. I'm just curious how much that helped the transition, and then having played for or coached for Pete Carroll, who does some things out of the box and is not necessarily traditional in some of his approaches. Do you see a lot of that similarity in Urban and maybe the approach Urban's taken with this?
Yeah, well, I think what you notice is Urban certainly respects Pete. Pete's, a terrific coach. We've seen that with his track record. I know I really enjoyed my 3 years there with him, learned a lot. But I think you noticed that, Urban saw something coming from Pete's staff and guys that have been developed and understand the game. And there's certainly a culture blueprint that both guys have. They're not exactly the same, but it's both very clear. You understand, hey, here's what we believe in. You get your 4 to 6, A to B plus 2. You've got culture of excellence. You've got all those things that really, they're not sound bites. They're things that we believe. And so in terms of their coaching style, that's very similar. They know where they want to go. They know what they want their team to look like. And as a coach, certainly an assistant, that makes it easy for you to go do your job because you know what's expected of you, and you can go out there and train and teach and develop your guys the right way. And so I really like the similarities between those guys in that regard.
And then as a passing game coordinator, what kind of luxury is it to have 2 pieces like Etienne and Chenault? guys who can do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it's terrific, and it's been fun to watch them both grow. I mean, just the strides. I'll speak to Lavishka. I mean, when we first got here, I liked him coming out of Colorado. I remember looking at him in Seattle and saying, wow, a tremendous athlete. But the gains that he's made and some of the strides that he's made and the spots we're putting him in has been really amazing. And he's been a guy that's almost showed up every day with a couple big plays you get excited about, along with Marvin Jones and DJ Shark and some of the other guys. And then Travis, of course, is he's a big play waiting to happen. He's got the electric speed. He's got the finishing speed. We know what he is as a runner. He's amazing in space. And now it's been kind of fun to try to take him and teach him some of the nuances that go into the passing game, because all we're doing by doing that is adding value for him. And again, there's been growth. We just had a great session outside. He was unbelievable with some of the things we were asking him to do in the passing game. And as a coach, that gets you excited. Like I said earlier, you show them things, they retain it, they do it, and as a coach, you feel like, wow, it's sinking in.
Last one, can I ask you about your dad?
Absolutely.
Normally, would you be bouncing things off of him this time of year? And just how different is it for you personally to be going into a season, without him?
Well, first of all, I appreciate you asking. I really do. My dad was one of my mentors, one of my idols. I bounce things off him all the time. In reality, Mark, the last 2 or 3 years it's been harder just to kind of hold some of those longer conversations. But he's always been my rock. I mean, I remember when I left the Jets, whenever that was, 2011, and was trying to decide what I wanted to do and had a number of options. He was the guy I went to. It wasn't my agent. It was him, because I knew he would give me the best advice, the most sound advice, and cared about me the most of anybody. I miss him every day. Father's Day this weekend will be tough, but I know he's looking down on me. And if you guys ever get a chance, once things get back to normal, when he was in the memory care center, he wore a hat, a red ball cap that had coach written on it. And it sits in my office, and so he's with me every day.
Awesome. Thanks. Hey, and by the way, is the visor a nod to Spurrier?
Yeah, I think you should actually say that. It's my locks are getting a little bit smaller on top, so I got to cover a couple bald spots. But I'm really used to picking it up when Steve used to throw it on the ground. That was my job. I was a designated visor picker-upper guy.
His restaurant's opening next month in Gainesville.
Okay.
And they're doing a statue of him out front, and
wow.
The statue is of him throwing his visor.
Very fitting. I haven't talked to him in a couple months. I need to connect with him. Huge influence on me, a great man.
Okay, we have time for one quick one. Mia?
I was actually going to ask Mark's question kind of about Father's Day, but Brian, if you could just kind of talk about, for you and your family, what this whirlwind kind of has been, knowing everything that was going on with your dad, but also starting up with a new team here in Jacksonville. Maybe what has this last 6-7 month period perspective, what has it given you?
Well, again, that's a great question. When things played out like they did in Seattle, I had a lot of time to reflect on my career and just different directions and places I wanted to go. And at the meantime, we were throwing a pretty big curveball when my father was put into hospice. But I truly believe this. That allowed me the freedom, because I was without a job, that allowed me the freedom to really go and spend, I would say, a grand total of about 3 weeks by his side, some of which was by his bedside. And those are days and nights and long conversations, really mostly me talking, that I'll remember for the rest of my life. And to be able to be there with my mom and my wife and my kids and my sister and her kids, it really showed me the importance of family. We're all so competitive in this business, and we're all driven, and we all want to get to the top of the ladder, if you will. You're reminded that how fragile the world is, and like I said, my father was kind of taken from us a while ago from a mental standpoint. But I know when I walked in to see him the very first time in hospice, he wasn't able to speak, but his eyes lit up, and to me that was pretty awesome.
All right, thanks.
Appreciate you sharing that.
Appreciate it,
Thanks,
Coach.
Coach.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
still got to live in the virtual world.
Hopefully not for too much longer. We'll jump right into questions. Jordan?
Hey, Coach. Just wondering what you've seen so far from the interior guys. You got a lot of young players, new guys, and was just curious about if you're able to glean anything, even though they're not really going full speed, full contact right now.
Yeah, this is an awesome opportunity to really evaluate capability of certain individuals, regardless of how much team we get or not being in pads. You know, you got a lot of various ways to do that with the individual drills, you know, just their movement, their change of direction, and then we are able to assess somewhat with some power with striking sleds. So there's no doubt we're really excited about by committee, you know, a lot of individuals inside we think can help us raise our level of play.
And have you seen anything specific from Doug Costin? He kind of came on strong as a rookie last year after being unheralded coming in.
Doug's been training really well, and I think he's done a great job applying that training. So you can see the benefits of his strength gains and where he's working to get his body fat composition and getting in the right shape to play ball. I thought he ended really well. He was a guy that was consistent with operating to the standard, running to the ball, finishing plays down the field. Numerous times you'll see him 20, 25 yards down the field finishing on plays, and I think that's a testament of the work he put in throughout the entire offseason, going back to when he reported here, you know, voluntarily in early April before we even had organized things going on.
Thanks.
All right, we'll go John Shipley, then D-Rock.
Hey, Tosh, just can you talk a little bit about Josh Allen's progress, you know, throughout this offseason and what you'd really like to see him do to kind of take that next step?
Yeah, Josh has completely dominated his training. He's attacked it, done everything we've asked of him. Been really neat to have him see another guy that's really brought the strength gains and what he did. Again, a guy, you know, when we stepped in the building and we're learning where our office is, one of the first guys I meet is Josh Allen. You know, and he's in there lifting, training, getting ready for the goals he has to attack with the season ahead. So I think he's a really versatile athlete. He's somebody that can play on the edge, operate out of a 2-point, a 3-point. We're going to ask him to rush the passer, set edges, drop in coverage, and up to this point, he's done a nice job of attacking all three of those phases.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go D-Rock and then Mark Long.
Hey, Coach, do you get a feeling of a sense of urgency from Taven Bryan, you know, this being the last year of his rookie deal, and what have you seen out of him so far?
Well, I hope Taven actually gets a sense of urgency from myself and us every day he wakes up. The way, again, another individual, just like almost this whole group of being here before report tape, voluntarily attacking the training. He was an individual here weeks before our startup date, and Taven is a dangerous combination of speed and power. So he has elite skill set and talent. We just got to channel that and focus that of where we need to help us most. And if we do that, he can make a major impact. So the guy's got extreme explosive attributes to him from an athletic standpoint, and that's what we need to do, is get him focused, confident of where he needs to align, assign, and execute. And if we can put that together, he could be a great contributor this season.
You guys like him outside at end, right? A little bit more maybe than inside?
He's got a versatile skill set, so I think he has the ability to play on the edge. He's demonstrated that already, and certainly has the power to play inside as well. So we'll ask some multiple assignments of him, but it's our job too to not overcomplicate that and make sure we're not putting him in a whole bunch of roles and asking too much of him. So as he proves what he can handle and do best to help us win, that's where he'll be placed.
Thank you.
We'll go Mark Long, then John Reed.
Hi, Tosh. you've coached under some defensive-minded coaches before. Now you're working under, Joe Cullen on the defensive side, who's got a background as a D-line coach. Is that kind of cool, or does he said yesterday that he finds himself gravitating toward the D-line every single day, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's awesome. Joe is I think Joe's done a phenomenal job of clearly expressing who we're going to be as a defense, schematically as well as mentality. And Joe's been, roaming, all around and from the nickels, safeties, corners, backers to us. And we love when Joe comes over. So there's times where, I want Joe to be highly involved as much as possible. He's someone that's been an expert at coaching D-line and front seven play. He's been a coordinator on multiple occasions. And he's someone that's been a part of this specific system for the last 5 seasons as well. So when a coach knows and understands the why behind what we're coaching, then ultimately I think it's going to be as clear as possible as far as getting that information to the players. So it's great to know we all come from different foundations and, over the years put together our own, packages and what we're most confident in coaching. Well, when you know the why behind all the specifics within the system, then I think it can be most successful. So love what Joe's doing. It's been awesome working with him, and excited about the direction we're going. You're on mute, man. You're stuck in virtual world. You got to hit your mute.
I got it. Hey, have you gotten you guys to buy in? You get a sense that you got guys to buy into the whole we're going to rotate. Fresher is better for everybody.
Yeah, they need to, and I think ultimately when a player understands that, and it's not just lip service, and you actually live that. At the end of the day, we're going to be judged by our results on film, and our resume is that film, coaches and players together. So if we can function at a high effort level and we get the results from that, then that's something that you can't deny, and it's easy buy-in. So that's exactly what we're going to do. And the guys that are going to be up for game day are going to be treated as each one of them as starters. And we're gonna roll those guys in and ask of them to, whoever's at that specific role, there'll be no accepting a lesser standard per individual, of the assignment we ask them to execute.
All right, we'll finish up with John Reed.
No problem. How you doing, Coach? Can you give us a progress report of how Jay has progressed?
Jay, man, we're fired up to have him. He's brings great energy. He got dinged up early, had an awesome rookie minicamp, and then early on just had a real minor leg issue that he treated and fixed up and responded really well to that. He's a guy that attacks everything, the weight room, the treatment, the field the same way. I think as he gets more comfortable in the system and he continues to get his body to where it needs to be, he could be a dangerous addition for us.
And just ask this: do you have an update on Chason?
Update? What do you mean?
He didn't pass the COVID test or something.
Yeah, so Caleb Vaughn, just because of the medical mandated, that's the only reason he missed these last few days. I think he's done a great job. He's had really good intent of recognizing where he needs to improve and attacking those tasks. So, for example, how we're rushing the passer, manipulating that in some ways. He applies that information in every drill we do together. And again to team, setting edges, what we're going to ask of him, and some coverage opportunities for him. He's had a strong showing in that. So yet again, another guy that was here well before the report date, working, training. So got ahead of the game as far as all the voluntary workouts, and who's here working out. Bummed out we didn't get that opportunity because of medical reasons for him to finish out in the mini camp here. But at least, we're excited to see the strength gains that he got throughout this whole time and the fundamental improvement, leading up to this point.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, thanks, Coach. You're all set.
All right, you guys have a good one.
What's going on, Coach?
Well, am I live? Can you hear me? Check
Yes, we
1,
got
2.
you.
All right, let's
Loud
go.
and clear. We got the local media here.
All right, man. Appreciate you guys.
They're gonna fire away. We'll start off with Gary, then go to Mark.
We got Gary, Mark, John, and Mike. All right, cool, man. What's up, guys?
How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing great, man. I'm blessed. What's up?
Hey, Coach, there's a general agreement that this team had to get faster across the board. Other than bringing in faster guys, either through the draft or free agency, with the existing guys as your job, what can you do to not only make this team bigger, stronger, but faster? Yeah,
you got to train that way, right? I mean, you train like you fight and you fight like you train, Gary. It's training acceleration. I'll give you a snapshot. So, talking with Sanjay, our wide receivers coach, he wanted every wide receiver to run 5 yards in 3 steps. So we trained that. And what we also did was we videoed every single guy's acceleration and then put that in a cut-up of only him in his individual sports performance folder. So, because guess what? Guys don't want to watch other guys. They want to watch themselves to get better. So it's, hey, here's your technique. Here's how you're flowing your heel. Here's how you're driving off that leg, both right and left, to perfect your craft so you can go be a great wide receiver. So, there's other things that we do in working on acceleration and speed work, but it is definitely an emphasis that we do. You have to have it, man. You got to train fast.
Okay, thanks.
Absolutely, Gary. Appreciate the question, man.
So is it safe to assume that you are what you emphasize is one of your mottos?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you want the fastest, strongest, most powerful, violent, tough, rugged dudes, guess what? You train like you fight like you train. I mean, it's not rocket. The training game is not rocket science. There's a lot of stuff out there, but it's being really good at the fundamentals. And I think that's the one thing that we've been able to bring into the guys, and then creating an environment in which they want to train, but also creating an environment to where they can also rejuvenate. I mean, everything that we do in the sports performance team in that model is to have a +2 mentality in serving our athletes. And I think when they feel that, because again, they never care about how much you know till they know how much you care. And guess what? Our GSF, give a shit factor for our dudes is I don't know. You can't comprehend it because, you got to feel it, right? You got to feel me and everybody in the sports performance team as to how we care about these guys. But you put that together, and guess what? They'll come in and they'll spill it, and that's how they're seeing the gains. And then you got that friction in the weight room too, where they want to serve each other and they want to push each other, and they start competing in the speed work that I was talking about before with Gary. They start competing against themselves, and they start competing against how fast they move weight. That is fun. When you get done playing as a former player, when you get done, the one thing that you miss is training with your boys. So you got to create the environment to where I like to come in and work out with my dudes and our staff to increase my value so we can go win games. That's what it's about.
And last thing, how big of a role model is Mickey
for
you still today, or do you talk to him constantly? And then secondly, I just got this little gap in your bio. I was just curious where you were from 15 to 21.
Yeah.
Were you running was that you were doing your own business?
Yeah. So let's talk about Mick. Mick is my guy. So I went to Ohio State in 2011 with Coach Tressel, and then Urban came in 2012. And Urban and Mickey retained me, and I was very privileged to have that. I never worked with them, didn't know a lot of the staff. They only retained 4 guys that were previously there, and we happened to be all Buckeyes. And I learned so much from Mick. And, the one thing in training, it's the attitude and intensity of which you train never changes. But just the mentality of how I grew up in this old school powerlifting gym, that mindset kind of shifted when I saw Mick. But then Mick pushed me to be better. Not just in the strength game, but he was like, Schlegel, you need to go get a master's. But I want you to, and he saw how the game was changing to where the strength coach in college is really the chief operating officer. So I went back and did an MBA because that's what it is. It's culture, it's leadership, it's operations of everything, taking what coach says and being able to apply it in the weight room throughout the entire culture of the organization. That's a different mindset, right, than other people have. So he kept pushing me to do that while developing the relationship with the guys, because that's the one thing of why we all become strength coaches and not just a position coach. I want to be able to touch every single player and get in the weeds of life with them, and you can do that as a strength coach. So I talk to Mick all the time. I just visit him on the weekends because I still fly back and forth every single weekend to Columbus, Ohio to see my family. Yeah, I've I mean, I got here January 17th, and I fly back. I've only missed one weekend. I fly back every weekend. But Mick has had a tremendous influence on my career and life. And then to fill in the gap, part of that pushing was in 14, when we won the national championship, Coach Meyer wanted to work on the difference drill, attack, strike, finish, elbows in, thumbs up. So I created this device, and in 15, it was, hey, it's time to go be a head guy. And I had this idea, and I just finished my MBA. It's like, you know what, I'm going to go start a business and create this, because everything I've done in my entire life has always been to maximize people through authentic service. And when it comes to players in the game of football, how can I help them do the one fundamental that we all have to do in the game, which is strike people? You have to do it. So simultaneously, I did that. I still helped out at Ohio State. I worked with the West Virginia National Guard. I've always been into training and how I could utilize technology to increase that. Increasing our guys' value through different modalities of rejuvenation and training. So I've always been in the weeds, but I started that business. I have 2 patents. Again, doesn't matter. It's all about increasing the value of athletes and coaches so they can help their players. So that's what that gap was. But I've always been in the game. And again, when you look at this game, and I've always evaluated coaches, does the coach share your values? Number 1. Number 2 is, do they know ball? And number 3, can they recruit? And if you look at a guy like Urban Meyer, and I was fortunate enough to work with him, faith and family, right? Absolutely knows ball, loves his players, and loves what we do. So that language, that relationship is so paramount to me in our profession as to, why I'm here in Jacksonville. But that kind of, hopefully that fills in the gap, Mark.
All right, we'll go D-Rock and then Mia.
Mia, what's up?
Wow, I guess we're jumping ahead of D-Rock. We'll let D-Rock go.
Oh, that's very nice of you. Thank you, Mia.
Hey, Mike, what's up, man?
That. Not much. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Was it always a dream to end up in the NFL, or was it, the chance to work with Urban again that got you up here?
Yeah, the dream for me is, if you look at Anthony Schlegel just as the dude, it's being authentic, service, excellence, and integrity. Those are my core values. They're not yours. They're mine, right? But then it's always to maximize people through authentic service. So the dream of where you do that, it doesn't matter as long as I'm doing that, right? But then when you put that into, being able to work with somebody like Urban Meyer, and I've seen it, and I saw his relationship with Mickey Marotti and the conversations and dialogue that they had, and how he literally just pops into your room with an idea. And then I saw Mick just take that and execute it to heights I've never seen. I'm like, that is fun. That is what I like, because that creative mindset that he has is something that I truly appreciate, because I share that. It's why I got the patents and stuff, right? But it's the ability to go execute upon that, but for what reason? Increasing the value of the athlete, because that's the only thing that matters. And so when you have that opportunity to work with a man like that, who trusts what you do and has your back and promotes that, it's a home run. And that's where, you don't want to chase the dragon of being a head guy, but you want to go fulfill your purpose with like-minded people. And, our coaching staff and our strength staff and our athletic training staff and nutrition, it's beautiful and it's fun. It's not a job for me, right? It's a purpose, and I'm just having a blast doing it.
I'm just wondering, do you still get asked about the tackle?
Oh, my
goodness. Is that something that'll never die?
It never dies. D-Rock, it never dies, man. It never goes away. But it's
how many guys asked you or talked to you about it here when you got here?
There's some guys that still, and I don't ever bring it up because I don't care. You respond to the level of which you have trained, right? And I was a state champion wrestler. It's not like, and I played in the National Football League. It's not like I can't do that. But funny story, side nugget. I blame Mick for all of it, because I had the worst job in America in college football, which is the strength coach who has the responsibility for special team substitution. Why they give a strength coach that job is beyond me, okay? Because I'm not in meetings. They just hand you five pages of stuff, and you're responsible for making sure they're out there, and I just don't want my face getting melted off by Urban Meyer, So I'm counting up the dudes, and then all of a sudden I see this person running over, and I look over at Mick. He looks at me. I look back, and I swear, old, PA, Western PA, Pittsburgh guy gives me the eyebrows like, what are you going to do? Boom. That's all you need, right? You flip the switch, you go out there, shoulders over knees, knees over toes, speed together, and you lateral drop somebody, and you get them off the field, and you just go about your business. I didn't think anything of it until my wife called me, like, "What did you do?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know what I did." You know, I blacked out. I'm just kidding, but yeah, I still get asked about that. It's funny.
All right, we'll go.
D-Rock, thanks, man.
We'll go to me, and then we'll finish up with Andy.
What weight class were you wrestling in, may I ask?
High
were
school.
you in Ohio?
No.
High school. Ohio or PA?
No, I'm originally from Texas.
Oh, okay. All right, good stuff. I worked in Iowa, so I had to ask. Wrestling.
Absolutely. Well, I was born in Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
That's where I used to work.
There you go. Co-college, man. Co-Hawks.
Love it, baby. Let's go. Iowa River Conference or whatever they're calling it now.
Yep, my dad was the head coach there for a while, and then they were making more money in Texas coaching high school football, so we moved down. But wrestling's always been a big part of my life, and I did it through, high school, and but yeah, so wrestling, man, it's good. Weight class 215. So I went like 160, 189, 215, 215. And then I had more offers. Yeah, I had more offers in college to wrestle, but I'm like, you want me to wrestle 197, but you also want me to play linebacker. I know that's not going to work out, so no. I'll go to the Air Force Academy. But yeah.
Love it. A topic that has quickly kind of like seeped into the media and everyone's talking about was Coach Meyer calling out DJ Chark, saying he needed to get faster, he needed to get stronger. What did you see from DJ when you first met him, and how did you see him meet that challenge from Coach Meyer?
I saw him just put in work. The one thing is you have to be accessible. You have to be open. And one of our things is we open, right? So we open in the training room. We're open in the weight room. We're open in the nutrition room. And so you have to give him everything in your toolbox to increase his value and maximize him. So, hey, we need to put on some weight. Let's get bumpy. Right? So it was him and Terry and Visca, and then, all the other wide receivers started coming in, and they just started having competition in the weight room, and you create that atmosphere to where they want to be. They want to train. And I'm like, take your shirt off, look in the mirror, like, oh, I like this, man. This looks good. Oh, I'm running faster. Yes, and they're competing, and we're posting it. Like, I want to be that top guy. I want to keep working on this. Oh, okay, guess what? You just had a great day of training. Let's start to build that pro routine. Not in camp, not during the season. Let's build that pro routine in February and in March. So you go train, you get rejuvenated, you handle your nutrition, we repeat. You do it again, you have a day off, you come in, you get rejuvenated. I started seeing the real gains on a Wednesday when we weren't training. And we were having DJ and Visca and other guys on the team, the O'Shaughnessy's and the Ben Ellisons and Tyler, Chris Manhurts when they were in early as groups and units, going in and getting rejuvenated together. Like, all right, it's starting to work, right? The guys are buying into what we're selling, but they only do that if everybody in the sports performance team has a +2 mentality in serving the athlete. Like, that's what they really care, right? Jim Tressel always said this: they never care about how much you know till they know how much you care. I said it earlier, but that's really what's happened. And then they started seeing the gains, and then they wanted a little bit more. I can handle this. But guess what? There's still more that he has to do. There's still more that a lot of guys have to do. And the cool thing is we got 5 weeks and they all know what it is. So guess what? Let's get to work. It doesn't stop. It's part of it. And so we get paid to do a job that we love, And I'm here to help you do that. So that's what's fun. And they're all buying into it.
Do you think previously, and obviously don't want to speak about the previous regime, but did they maybe not have that? Maybe we want to call it, because you guys are coming over from college, a lot of this strength and conditioning team, but that camaraderie, that let's post the scores on the board, let's compete with each other. Does it seem like maybe that isn't something that's as prevalent in the NFL and you're bringing it to the table?
No, I just think that you always have to be creative of how you move the needle for the athlete. That's it. You can never stop being creative. How can we get wide receivers to work on their releases and get 10,000 reps? Or how can I work on striking? Or how can I work on footwork? Whatever the case may be, the beauty of the NFL is that there are 90 guys that are all different. Like, you have time to be able to go through and screen every single guy and say, here's the enhancements that you need, Andrew Norwell. That's different than a Ben Barch who is only a second-year guy, right? Like, you have that time. and autonomy to be able to go give them that, because they're all different. But you still have to have the same mindset that it doesn't matter if you're a first-round pick, 8-year vet, or a first-year, second-year guy trying to make a roster. I'm going to give you everything I got, right, to allow you to either make a roster, add value, start, be an all-pro. It doesn't matter. And when you start doing that for them and being creative that way, they really buy in. And that's just what we've seen. It's nothing about regimes. It's just, for us, and again, my staff, I've never worked with anybody on them. I didn't want that. I mean, our staff, I didn't want another Schlegel. I don't need anybody else that I've worked with before. I wanted different thought, different insight, different relationship skill sets, because that's the most important thing to me in the NFL is you got 90 that whittles down to 53 plus 10, and they're all different. Do I have a staff made up of men that can get in the weeds of life with them and have that conversation that resonates with that individual player to move that player one step closer to their max capacity? Like that, to me, is what it's all about in the strength and conditioning game. It's the relationship factor.
We got time for one more. Andy?
Thanks, Mia.
I've been watching videos of the Ultimate Striking Machine, and I'm curious, how dangerous are you when you get in a Home Depot? How many different machines are you coming up with in your mind?
Man, I think of stuff all the time. We're out there. I talked to Larry Johnson is the one of a coach that I've worked with and really admire and respect as to how fanatical he is about the craft of his D lineman. And so when I'm at a practice and I'm watching guys do their work, I'm like literally thinking of things. How could I do that in the weight room, or give them a drill that they could do on their own outside when I can't watch them to increase their value and work on their craft? That goes back to the sports performance team and what we're all about. It's ownership, transparency, accountability, and creativity. And I think that's the one thing that you have to have. You got to be creative in how you're moving the needle. I think guys appreciate that, but also you got to have some collaboration because they're pros. How does it, like, Linder, you've been in the league for 8 years. You know your body way better than I know your body. Let's talk about, hey, here's what our workout is, but what are the things that you can do that you have no pain? Here's your areas of weaknesses that we need to enhance. Here's what I think how we could do that. How's that feel on you? Great. All right, that's your plan. So when you have, so that gives them some love and ownership too in their workout, right? And I think that's really the one thing that both of our guys, all of our staff have really done well, is giving the players love and ownership, but us as a staff love and ownership in power, big speed, and speed groups to increase their value.
Speaking of Ohio State D lineman, is Luke Fickell the best demonstrator ever on that machine?
Oh man, Fick! He has some meat paws. He's a 3-time state champion. They got some cats, but that's the thing. With that, and it goes into the premise of a craft, like all of you, right? Doing it 10,000 times. How do you write a sentence? How do you ask questions, right? I do it 10,000 times so I can be elite at it. Same thing in this craft of being an NFL athlete. How can we do those things 10,000 times to maximize your value? And that's what we have to do. We have to constantly be thinking about that and reevaluating what we're doing for our athletes. But to me, that's that +2 mentality. If Coach Meyer demands a +2 mentality on the field, we have to have a +2 mentality as a sports performance team.
All right, thanks, Coach. You're all set.
Appreciate you guys. Have a blessed week.
Hey, Anthony, are both of your patented machines in the